That really twisted that fucking knife, right? It would have twisted it even fucking more if they hadn't given me something. At what point do you realize that you're giving loyalty and energy to an entity that does not even fucking know you exist? Hello? People are already confused why the same photo is in two different categories with two different stylists' name on it in each one. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Aggravated Chaos Podcast. I am your host, Crystal Chaos, and I'm back again with my co-host, Jasper, who seems to be just over there licking his little paws. Today's episode, we're going to get into some more hard truths, things that people may not like, may not want to hear. Maybe it's a perspective you've never thought of. Who knows? There may or may not be some statements made here today that you feel like I contradict myself, and that is okay because that's completely fucking normal for this podcast. Sometimes your content should contradict itself. Today, we are talking about award shows again, but this time I'm on their side. Kinda. So let's be honest. We all know I'm talking about the one show in particular, and 'tis the season right now because we're all seeing that stupid fucking watermark ruin everybody's beautiful work, and it's just not necessary. And it's just not necessary. I've seen plenty of people get nominated without the watermark, and as far as I'm aware, it's optional. The watermark gives me flashbacks to the episode where I talked about Leaf and Flower, and they were like, you have to put the image of the product in your picture, and people were copy and pasting the images from Google, and they didn't know how to remove a background or turn down the opacity, and flashbacks. And when it comes to the award show watermark, why are people making them so big? It takes up like half the image. Like, what is happening? If you want to listen to that episode I referenced, I will leave it in the show notes. But for this year's award show episode, I want to talk about how just because you enter a contest does not mean you're entitled to an award. You're not entitled to a nomination. And if you want to get real deep with it, you're not even entitled to being noticed or acknowledged. Ever since I started talking about my experience within this culture and just like how jarring it was to see it for what it is, there's been a lot more people that come out and talk about it. I've gotten a ton of messages. There's been people showing up in my comments, making their own declarations of how they feel about the show and how they feel about the nominations and who is getting nominated. A lot more people have started talking about it on TikTok. And I also want to say that if you think there's not going to be an episode about this every fucking year for the rest of my life, you are sadly mistaken, because there's always going to be something that comes up during the season, which, speaking of the season, if you think about it, the season for this particular show, it lasts a good chunk of the year. So you've got your entry dates, right? Which are January 8th through March 4th. That's an entire quarter, okay? Then a lot of times they will extend the entry dates another month or so, depending on how generous they're feeling. Then there's the big shot entries, which I do think usually go a little bit longer. So that takes us around 5 months out of the year. And then you have all of the online content and marketing, which is fine. I understand that. The show is always in August. And in June, people start asking where nominations are. So then we have this crunch time between June and August. Usually around July, they start dropping top 100 nominations and whatever. That's how it was last year anyways. And sometimes they just completely wipe certain categories off the map. They're just gone. It's a whole thing. But that's 6 months out of the year. Every single year that it's one shot season. And there's always something that gets mucked up or something that sparks a thought within me that I want to share with you guys here. And why not? Because sometimes I run out of fucking podcast episode content, to be honest with you. But this show will forever give content ideas. Last year, they fucked up the nominations and credit for photos so bad that there were multiple times they told people that they didn't want to take the nomination video down because they didn't want to, quote, confuse their audience. Hello? People are already confused why the same photo is in two different categories with two different stylists' name on it in each one. Isn't there a collaboration category for a fucking reason? I know a lot of people look at this and they're like, oh, you're shit talking and you're being a hater. The injustice sensitivity in me is very strong on this one, okay? There's a lot of people that may not know this, and if you're new here, you're about to find out. I was a part of this. I won a fucking award, though I was never listed as a winner on anything ever. But they sure did ask me to be on their team and work on brand campaigns. Ironically, the first one ever was to help launch Matrix So Color Cult, a fashion color line. So that tracks. But it's also weird because they rarely post fashion color and there's only one category for it. So if you're thinking that I'm just like some jaded person who like never won and I'm like mad about it, that's not the case. I've been on the inside of this, and that is the entire reason why I am the way that I am about it. I just want to see, first of all, there are so many reasons why I am the way that I am about it, but I want to see it be more inclusive. I want to see it be more fair and honestly less political or brand affiliated. Basically, I want it to be what they say that it is. So let's circle back to what I said about people showing up in my DMs. A lot of y'all have sent me messages about how you feel about the show, and I encourage it. There were quite a few of you who actually shared your experience with me while you were at the show last year. Like, y'all were sitting in your fucking hotel rooms texting me about people you met and who was shitty and who wasn't shitty and how the show was going. I had somebody at the show telling me who won. I was running to their fucking Instagram pages looking to see who they were affiliated with. This kind of makes it sound like I'm a little bit obsessed, but like, I am curious. I like to be in the know, a journalist, if you will. But yeah, you guys were like texting me and sending me messages and shit from the show, and I thought that was really cool. And I was definitely here for it. If you find my DMs to be a safe space, then please use it in that way. But this episode isn't about them and their actions. Honestly, it's probably the one thing I'll ever say that they might agree with. This episode is about people who enter. And just to be clear, this is not a blanket statement about everybody who enters. I'm not saying everyone acts this way. There's been a lot more people making content about this show. I'm not the only one, though I may have been one of the first. And the comments seem to have a pattern from this year and last year that look like a lot of people who entered are openly hating on the show or are mad about not getting nominated or noticed. And the thing about that is it's a contest at the end of the day. So if you take all of the politics, advertising money, and all of the things that we've talked about in the past, if you take all of those things away and you look at it for what it actually is or what it's supposed to be, it's a contest. It's a game of chance. There is no way of knowing if you're going to be nominated. So let's start with something that I talk a lot about here, which I feel like a lot of y'all are about to be real fucking tired of me about this. Sorry. That thing that I talk a lot about is content. And if you pay close enough attention, there is a certain type of content that they like. Now, I don't know who the judges are because they never fucking tell us. Not for Hot Shot anyway. And it's not listed on their website. I went and looked. I can't find anything for Big Shot either. But if you think about it, the people who run this, right? The people who run the show started out as a print magazine, which a lot of what goes into a print magazine and advertisements are editorial style shots, which many stylists have started adapting that style of content for exposure and for entries. So a lot of what is looked for when they're looking at entries is likely something that has an editorial style or feel to it. When you see nominations that are heavily edited in the face and the model has no pores and there's not a flyaway out of place, the background is perfectly just perfect, and the overall photo gives an editorial feel like you would see it in a magazine somewhere or like in an ad, it's because that's what they like. That's why every girl is pretty. That's why every girl looks like a model. That's why every girl is rail thin, perfectly white teeth, great bone structure, full fucking head of hair. It's because that's what they like. So your mirrored photos and pictures that are in front of your product shelf with lazy styling are not going to cut it anymore. The overexposed photos and the fake backgrounds that are edited fucking terribly, yeah, that's not going to do it either. To be clear, I'm not saying that you should over edit your photos or your clients or any of that. Just because some people think that they can get away with it doesn't mean that you should throw all of your content off of a bridge too. There's honestly an entire list of things that I could go down, but I think that that is for another episode. And to be honest, I don't 100% agree with this because the entire mission statement of the show is that this is your one shot, okay? This is your one shot to enter hair that you have done behind the chair. Yet most of what is celebrated is somewhat of a production. If that's what they want, change the fucking mission statement. I'm 50-50 on it, honestly, because I do believe in elevating your content for yourself and for your page, for your portfolio, and for your own brand. My point is that these people who are taking zero fucking effort pictures, they're literally just point click, oh yeah, I got the picture, I'm going to enter this because the head of hair is good. These are the ones who get upset when they don't get nominated or even noticed. But here's the thing. You're not entitled to that, okay? You are not entitled to that. Just because you do hair and you took a picture and then you posted it online somewhere and you agreed to their terms and you use their hashtag, it does not mean you're entitled to anything. And honestly, the people who do make their photos into like this big production and they have elevated their skills and whatever, they're not fucking entitled to it either. None of us are. You are not entitled to anything from anyone, ever. And this may be a hard pill to swallow or an unpopular opinion or both, but if ever you were going to compare your photos to someone else's, which I don't recommend for a full-time thing, but this would be the time, and here's why. Anyone with eyeballs can tell you that the pictures that are more produced look better than the ones that are not. Can you take some amazing pictures with a phone? Yes, I do it all the fucking time. But that still takes some effort. Finding the right pose, the right angle, the right lighting, adjusting the phone camera settings, maybe using a third-party camera app so that you have more settings to choose from to adjust. Basic effort. And if you do get nominated and you do make it to top 25, which that's amazing, and it's definitely bragging rights, and it's something to be proud of, especially if it's, on your goal list. But if you do make it to the top 25 and you don't win and you get mad, sorry, you're not entitled to that. But you are entitled to your feelings about it. You are allowed to feel sorrow. You're allowed to feel disappointment, relief, devastation, etc. So let me tell you a little story. When I won, I actually didn't win. Somebody else won. And actually not somebody else. It was like a group of really popular 500,000 plus follower male hairdressers. But after that group made their speech, they came out and they were like, there's one video that we just can't look past. And, they gave me this secondary award. You guys have heard this story before. And I think it was a last minute decision because everybody else's award had their name on it and mine did not, which I'm not trying to be ungrateful. I didn't give a fuck either way because they eventually did send me one with my name on it. I'm just telling you what happened. When I watched them announce the winners for the video category, I did get upset. I'm not going to lie to you. I got upset because I really did think I was going to win, but I didn't, and whatever. So I got up to leave. And a couple of my friends got really mad at me for this because from their point of view, it was giving the vibes of acting like a brat, like I'm stomping my feet, like I didn't win, right? Somebody had said that there were other categories to be announced that my friends were nominated for, and it was unfair to them for me to get up and leave and not stay for their categories. But if memory serves me correctly, and I'm almost positive that it does, the video category was the last category. And even if it hadn't been, I had to fucking pee. I sat through that entire show, and if you've ever been to this show, you know how long it is, but I waited and waited and waited for that category to be called. I waited to go to the bathroom. I didn't go get anything to drink. I didn't stretch my legs, nothing. And if you've never been to the show, the award show in itself can be 4, sometimes 5 hours long, depending, they're never on time. They always run late, whatever. So I sat there for all of that time. My ass was numb because I got a flat ass and I just wanted to pee. But not only that, but I did want a minute alone with myself for like 5 fucking minutes. I just needed 5 minutes to myself. Like if I needed to cry or if I needed to have a moment, if I did need to stomp my feet, I wanted to be able to do that in a bathroom stall and then come back and be more put together. Whatever emotions I was feeling, I wasn't trying to like let them all out right there, in the VIP section. And we all have emotions and feelings. So you are entitled to those. You are allowed to have those. But mind you, this was the second or third year that I had entered and it was my first time being nominated. So like I had big feelings. So what I'm saying is if you're nominated and you don't win, you're allowed to shed a little tear. You're allowed to be a little disappointed and you're allowed to be upset. I was not entitled to that award and neither is anybody fucking else. I'm happy for the people who have won. And honestly, the guys who won the video category at the time, I really looked up to them. They were some of the first people I followed on Instagram. But I was told later after the party, as many of you have heard already, I was told later that I actually did win based off votes. So that really twisted that fucking knife, right? It would have twisted it even fucking more if they hadn't given me something, but whatever. None of it means anything now. They told me that they had to give it to a quote, real hair video. And I know now that those guys won because they were affiliated with brands. They were paying for advertising packages. And what I didn't know then, what I know now is basically what I'm saying. And this wasn't told to me by just anybody. It was told to me by one of the top fucking people. So drunk or not, he said what he said. My point here is you're entitled to your feelings, but you're not entitled to an award, a nomination, or attention due to an entry. If your feelings are those of resentment for not getting those things, maybe that's something you should unpack. A lot of what I'm talking about, though, as far as comments go, are these comments about how they never get noticed and they don't know why they even enter because it's a scam and it's always the same people that win. Now, I can tell you there is definitely somewhat of a political situation, and we covered that last year in last year's episode about this show. And it could be true that these comments are coming from people who don't know this because the majority of the industry doesn't know this. The problem is that they're acting as if just because they took a picture and posted it with a hashtag, they should be recognized, and that's just not true. There are stylists who kill themselves year round to make content specifically for this contest. Now, do I think leveling up the way your work is represented is a bad thing? No, of course not. I literally teach people how to do this. I think it's a great thing and I think everybody should do it. But when you tell people that, you're met with attitude, resistance, and something I like to call the yeah, but theory, which is going to be next week's episode. It is all about people who are you're constantly giving solutions to these people and they're always like, yeah, but like that's a response that they will forever give because they don't want to put the work in. But we'll be covering that next week. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've never felt entitled because I have. We likely all have about something. But here's where mine came from. Here's where my little sense of entitlement came from. I used to be that girl that took a photo with her iPhone 6 Plus and a ring light. I used to keep my cape on all my clients when I was taking photos. I used to take photos of my clients sitting in the chair with the color shelves or the bright pink walls or the station behind them. My pictures were not good, okay? But my work was. So here I am. I'm taking these photos with my iPhone 6 Plus in front of a sheer curtain that is hung on the door to my suite, and I'm posting them with my business watermark and I'm hashtagging my life away. In the first couple years, I didn't get noticed, and I was like, my work is good. Like, this doesn't make any sense. What's the problem? That was the problem. That's where my thinking was very skewed. My work was good, but my presentation of it and my photos were not. When someone says your work is good, it means that the hair that you do is good. When someone says your photos are not good, they mean your presentation, which has nothing to do with the hair that you did. These are two completely separate skills, which we covered in the episode titled, Sometimes the Truth Hurts. However, poor presentation can make a killer head of hair look really bad. Like a bad photo can make a beautiful person look ugly. Same concept. So when I started elevating the photography skills and blah, blah, I know you guys are tired of hearing that, and I still didn't get noticed, that's where the entitlement came in. The problem here is that no one pays as close of attention to your work, your content, your feed, or the effort and progress that you have made more than you. And it's a slow burn. It does not happen overnight. So it could be weeks or months of posting like mediocre content until one day it's just great. It takes a while. Just like hair, you weren't great at that off the bat. So being noticed after putting all of that effort in felt very validating to me. And I'm not going to lie and say that, it's not, because it's human nature. People love to be validated. We love compliments and whatever. But herein lies another problem. Seemingly, some stylists only do hair and create content because they're chasing validation, instead of doing it because they enjoy it or because it's their business and they're passionate about it or whatever. And that takes us to this like weird dynamic of power, right? The people a lot of us are seeking validation from are people with power. The power to say what is trending, what's not, what looks good, what doesn't look good, what's winner worthy and what's not. And we gave them that power. Now, granted, if I had zero following and no one listened to this podcast, I would probably still put it out because it's very therapeutic for me to say, your fucking content looks like crap. Please fix it and stop being entitled about not being noticed for it. I'm psycho like that, I guess. Can't wait for someone to use that clip against me. But anyway, the only people that can take the power that power away from them is us. And somehow the industry refuses to do that. The vast majority of this industry still believes in that archaic, unrealistic beauty standard. And because that's what they promote at the show, that's what everybody is trying to achieve. Another way that we all look like puppets trying to jump through hoops of fire to appease them. They don't promote creativity. Vivids are not even a blip on their radar. Even the education at the show, when there is education to be had, is based around trends that they want to see. So if you're a vivid artist or a creative person, if you're a spooky girl or an alternative girl, this award show is not for you. And the only time that it ever was when Vivids were heavily trending. Because again, remember, this used to be a print article-based publication. So trend reports weigh very heavily on what gets noticed and printed. What I just can't get behind is the feeling of entitlement to something that you're just not entitled to. There are stylists out there who, like I said, put in 100 times more work than some of these people who are bitter about not getting noticed. And for me, the quicker that I realized that in my own journey, the quicker I was able to curve it and put more effort in and start learning how to do better. It's kind of like doing a full highlight, lifting it to a level 7 or 8, not toning it, and having tons of bleed marks, and then getting mad when your client leaves you a 1-star review. It's the same fucking concept. I think part of the problem is that these people think that the effort that they're putting in is max effort. And part of that might be because all you see online is photos of hair and pretty girls. And a lot of times the hair is actually a fucking wig that's been over edited. But a good majority of the industry cannot tell what is edited. Some of these people are so good at this that I have a hard time telling what's fake and what's not. When you learn how to look for certain things, you start seeing that a lot of these bigger pages or people who are being nominated or who are winning constantly, they're editing their little asses off. And that's not a dig at one person. Before you guys fucking get wild out here and start spreading rumors, that is not a dig at one person. That is a dig at a lot of people. While some stylists may be really good at the editing and they may be really good at, fooling a lot of us, there's a lot that are not. They're coloring outside the lines and using safety scissors to cut up some random fucking shape that makes no fucking sense and then slapping another background on it. But my point is that not everybody has experience with those types of tools. So many stylists think that larger creators are getting these results without any editing or retouching. That's a problem. The main thing stylists need to be honest with themselves about are this. Are you really putting in max effort, or are you giving it 25% and calling it a day? This applies to formulas, content, showing up online, poses. There's so many things that this applies to. There are more hairdressers and content creators than ever that are giving away their entire content strategy. They're giving away everything that they use to make content. They are literally giving you all of their secrets. And if you paid close enough attention, you would know that that is the same shit that I do on my page. But when it comes down to it, it's the but people who don't want to hear it, and they sit in their glass house and they throw their stones while they enter a contest half-assed, and at the end of the day they get bitter about not being noticed because they feel entitled to something for the sheer fact that they do hair. But there's also the ones this poor dog but there's also the ones that look at these accounts with purposely overexposed blondes and oversaturated vivids thinking, wow, I don't know why that can't be me. I don't know where I'm going wrong because I'm doing all of the things that this person is saying that I'm doing. I'm using the apps and I'm doing the angles that they showed. But the reason that they're not getting the same results is because the creator isn't being 100% honest about how they achieved the image. And you know who I'm talking about. This is about one person. So for those of you who are trying to learn and are trying to do better, it can be hard to find good education or tips on these things from someone who is honest. In my opinion, only a stylist that is afraid of competition is going to lie, cheat, and gatekeep. So one of our favorite new characters from this season has based his entire personality around the fact that someone got an award that he felt entitled to. How do I know this, you might ask? Well, he told me in one of the many DMs that he has sent me. I will say that a lot of what he said to me is based around how there should have been a fair opportunity given, and I understand that and I do not disagree with it. However, that seemed to have changed when he started making content about it. And the way that his attitude has been towards anybody who is associated with this contest since then has been giving pure entitlement. Literally anybody who enters the awards, puts a watermark on their photos, uses the hashtags, reshares any of the stuff to their story. He's like, I'm cutting you off. I don't want anything to do with anybody who wishes to be connected with them. And honestly, that's so fucking unrealistic because like 75% of the industry is still participating in this show. So please explain to me how you want to be all Insta famous and famous on TikTok and whatever, and you have all these followers, but you expect all of those people to not participate in the things that you say because you said. That is Delulu, if ever I have heard Delulu. But that is what makes me also so different from him is I have plenty of people who have taken my photography course, people who listen to this podcast, and I see them on my feed. I see you guys. Okay, I see you entering your content. I see you using the watermarks. Please stop making it so big. I see you using the hashtags and I double tap. I support you. I share it to my stories or I comment on it or whatever. Especially my photography students who are fucking nailing it, like Preston the artist. She took my photography course and then 4 months later she got nominated. I'm pretty sure that was 2023. But I was so proud of her, not just because she's a student, but because she's an amazing artist. And this is her goal. I don't dictate her goals. Just because she took my class or listens to the podcast or, you know, follows me or we talk in DMs does not mean that I expect her to fucking never enter this contest ever again because I said so. If that's on her goal list, that's on her goal list. And who am I to fucking say otherwise? Which means who the fuck is he to say otherwise? I'm allowed to be proud of people for hitting their goals. That is a part of what a real community is. Just because I don't agree with the show overall does not mean that somebody else can't have it on their goal list, and it doesn't make them less of a person for doing so either. I will continue to support those who enter because that's their journey, not mine. I'm just here to give information, share stories, and then everyone is free to form their own opinions based on that. So in treating people like they have the plague or trying to use their affiliation to the show as an insult is entitlement itself. We see it all the time on the internet. We see people feel entitled to stylist time, to their attention, to their knowledge without first putting in their own effort to look at the answers in the comments or on their page. Do you know how many times a day I get asked for my hair color formula? There's tons of content about it. Usually it's already in the comments section and people are too lazy to go look for it. But that type of entitlement, I think, might be for another episode. So the moral of this episode is you're not entitled to an award. You're not entitled to attention, nomination, or even an honorable mention. When it comes to the award show or when it comes to entering any contest for that matter, just because you enter doesn't mean you're going to win. And I never really believed in the whole like snowflake theory about how, you know, everybody gets a trophy just for participating because I grew up in that era. But this is a really good example of that, but more. It's like on steroids. Because the people who throw a fit and bash this contest and they say things in the comment section about how they entered and they never got noticed, it kind of gives snowflake. I used to be that person. I was the snowflakiest of snowflakes. I used to be, I can't believe I didn't, blah, blah, blah. But then once I elevated my content, I was like, oh, well, yeah, this makes sense. My work used to look like garbage. Like, no fucking way. No thanks. I get it. I literally had someone say to me, I have entered this show for 5 years and I have never once been noticed. I have never once been nominated and I have never once been reshared. So I went and looked at their work, obviously, and I can see why. Their work is not bad. The hair, not bad. Presentation, fucking terrible. Nothing about their content even aligns with anything that BTC shares or posts or affiliates with. It is not up to their level of standards. I can understand doing something for so long and being frustrated when you don't see results, but at what point do you either give up because you're not willing to put in more effort or change what you're entering? At what point do you realize that you're giving loyalty and energy to an entity that does not even fucking know you exist? You're pouring your heart and soul and you're giving all of this effort to a brand for what? Social currency? When you could be putting all of that effort and energy into your own business, your own portfolio, your own branding, your own website. But these are the same people who complain and bitch and moan, who continue to enter every year as if this company doesn't have fucking eyeballs everywhere, as if they're never going to know what they said. It's like me sitting here thinking that they don't know what I'm saying. I would be dumb to think that. It's going to end up being this vicious cycle that is literally going to ruin their self-esteem at some point, and they'll want to just quit doing hair. I have seen it before, and it will be to their own demise, I guess, because you can't make anybody change their thought process or shift their perspective. But I am here to say to some of you that if you don't, you will not survive. Before we end this episode, I do want to talk about, there is an award show coming up. It is new. It is up and coming. I think it's going to be different. I hope that it's going to be different. I do think it will have some standards. I don't think those standards will be anywhere near as high as, BTC. And I also want to clarify that you can take a good photo with an iPhone. You can take a good photo with a camera. Take a good photo with an old camera. It's about your knowledge. It's about lighting, what you know, how you use it, and things of that nature. So that's what I mean by effort. So that is all I have for you on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm sure Jasper enjoyed you being here as well. And as always, the link to the email will be in the show notes. If you have any topics, comments, suggestions, stories that you would like to share, thoughts on this episode that you would like to share, please feel free to email them to the email. And I will see you guys next week. Okay, bye.